What? What did I ever do to you? Nothing. I fed you, I helped hatch you, I gave you water. Yeah. It's kind of like talking to a teenager. All the good things I did for them, and they still have this grudge against me. But they're growing. They're growing quickly. We had a bit of a scare today. Yes, we had a chick scare here in the Voodoo Garden. Oh, by the way, welcome back to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray. I am the host of this nonsense I call the Garden of Voo, and these are my new backup singers, the Little Peeps. Those of you who have been following me, you know that I hatched some chicks on the last episode. I think it was the last episode. I don't know. It was not too long ago. We had, I thought I had 6. It turns out I had 7 little peeps, little chickens that I hatched in an incubator here in the Voodoo Garden. I've been keeping them in this large clear plastic tub with a brooder light to keep them warm. Turns out you don't need to keep chicks as warm as you might think. There's a lot of information that says you got to keep them at, say, at 99 degrees, and each week lower it by a degree or some nonsense like that. I've never done that. When they're first hatched is a very important time where they need to be kept warm. A chill can kill a baby chick. And normally in nature or in a chicken coop, they're underneath their mother and they're kept warm. So whenever they start giving that peep, the mother will just go down and form this little dome of heat over them, and the little peeps will get underneath there and poke their little heads out to see what's going on. It's very beautiful. But there is no mother chick around here, chicken around here. I'm their father, and they can't just get underneath my shirt anytime they need heat. That's why I needed the heat lamps over here. Thing is that they don't need the heat as much as people say that they do. I actually had the heat here just for, I'd say, 2 weeks, and I took it away. It's warm enough in the Voodoo Garden. It's 75 degrees here, and these birds are old enough and feathered out enough that they don't need the heat. And I've been watching them. They don't cluster together or anything. Anyway, back to the emergency that we were having here. It started out 2 days ago. I got a plastic cup, and I get their feed out of a big bag. It's called chick starter feed. Yeah, I know, you're hungry and scared. But I was feeding them. I feed them twice a day. I don't keep food available to them all the time, because what they'll do is they'll kick it all over the place, and they'll stomp it around, they'll poop on it, they'll throw it in their water. They waste a lot of food. And I don't want to waste food. I don't like wasting anything. So what I do is I feed them a couple times a day in this large flat bowl. They run over there, they eat what they can, and then they're happy and they rest. This seems to work best for me for right now. Later on when they're all going like this with their little eye looking up at me, wondering what I'm talking to. Talking to my friends. Yeah, you're not my only friends. I got friends over there. I got real friends. So anyway, I was feeding them like I always do. Turns out, a few days ago, it bugged me. I got the feed and I gave it to him, and I put the cup away, and I was looking at my plants first thing in the morning, and I felt something on my hand. I couldn't figure out what it was. It just felt like a little tickle. And I was brushing it, and the next day I felt it again. What the heck is that? The third day I got wise, and I got my big magnifying glass off the wall over there, and I was looking at my hand. I was swarming in mites. Oh yeah, you're all cringing right now. I was cringing too. Thing is, I looked at the mites. I have a high-powered microscope lens that I use when I really need to see something up close. I looked at them up close, and they looked like soil mites, the hypoaspis mites that I have in my soil. Hypoaspis mites, if you have them in your soil, it's a blessing, because what they do is they eat fungus gnat larvae. So if I bought some and I put them in my soil years ago, and they've been living in there for years in all of my pots. I thought that they were hypoaspis mites, and I thought, oh, well, you know, brush them off. I just have a few of them. And then, this has been happening every day since then. And today, it finally struck me. I thought, this is wrong. I looked at it, and I was swarming in tons of them. And I know I hadn't touched the plant that day. I had just fed them. So I put 2 and 2 together, and I went over to the bag of feed with a magnifying glass. The whole bag was swarming, just covered in jillions. I didn't even know the word for it. I mean, it's over trillions. And it was swarming in little white dots. And I hadn't noticed it because it's in the hallway and there's no light in the hallway. And it just creeped me out. You know, all your little hairs on your arm and neck and head stand on end. And I looked them up real close, and it looked like a hypoaspis mite. So I looked it up online. Turns out it's a bird mite. Bird mites and hypoaspis mites, predatory mites, look almost exactly the same. And those were not hypoaspis mites. They wouldn't be living on chick feed. They don't do that. So I freaked out, and I sprayed my hand with pyrethrin to kill everything on my hand. And then I grabbed the bag with my pyrethrin hand so that anything that touched me would die. And I picked up that 50-pound bag with one hand. It's amazing how strong you get when you're scared to death. And I marched that bag outside, set it out on the grass. I came back in, sprayed the entire area in my hall with pyrethrin to make sure everything is dead that's supposed to be dead. And I was wondering, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't go back to this place, the feed store, and get the feed because it's going to be the same thing. And there's nowhere else around here locally to get chick feed. So I was panicked. I thought, what are my birds going to eat? So then it dawned on me. I bake compost. Remember, I sell compost and I bake it in an oven outside. So I put two and two together again, little math, Ray, and I filled those turkey roaster pans with chick feed, put foil on top, threw them in my oven, and as we speak, in my house, because my oven outside isn't connected to the propane yet, and I didn't have time to do that. So I'm baking it in my house. My house smells kind of funky. Kind of good, but not really good. I don't know what it is. So the smell, it's chick feed. And so my house smells of chick feed. I got a ton of it baking in my oven at 400 degrees for an hour to make sure that anything that's alive is not alive when it comes out of that oven. Then I can let it cool down and put it into a plastic tub, probably this tub here, and keep it covered and use that to feed my chicks. I wanted to bring that to your attention because I want to make sure that whether it's in the Voodoo Garden or out on my Praxis channel, wherever I happen to have these little fuzzy balls of fun, that I'm educating you as much as I possibly can. Some folks mentioned when they saw them hatch, they go, oh, I want one. Thing is, you got to remember, they're cute, but they're a lot of responsibility. And I wanted to bring this reality home to you because they got mites. I had to check the birds for mites, and luckily they didn't have them on them because apparently it didn't stick around, or maybe they ate them. I don't know, but I found no mites on any of the birds, so I was very lucky there. Otherwise, I would have had to put a dust bath of diatomaceous earth in there so they could dust bathe in it and kill the mites. That's what chickens do. You have to have some dry dirt or dusty dirt or diatomaceous earth for them to dust bathe in, and they get it all over their body. They'll lay around, they'll kick, and they'll ruffle their feathers. That gets dust underneath their downy feathers, and mites, I believe, have pores on their body. That's how they breathe, and it clogs up the pores and it kills the mites. So that's why chickens dust bathe. Yeah, they enjoy it, and it's good for their body. They don't take baths like we do. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that. They're a lot of responsibility. They're not just a toy. Well, they're not a toy. They're a pet to some people. They're food for other people. But you got to make sure that you have more than one. One of them will be so lonely without the other ones. They're flock animals. They need company. They also need a lot of attention and care. You may think that they don't, but they actually do, especially when they're young. So that's why I wanted to bring that to your attention today, because it was kind of freaking me out, and I wanted to let you know. Also, the Voodoo Garden is taking on a whole new appearance. I'll bring you in and so that you can see what's going on because of these chicks. Why are you all of us? You know, one moment they're screaming bloody murder, and the next second they're absolutely totally silent and they're just watching me talk. I guess it's like my audience. Hey, how you doing? You may notice that the Voodoo Garden is getting a little bit sparse in the way of plants. And that's because I cleared out all the vegetable plants that I'm planting outside. So I'm making room for when Walmart and Home Depot and other places have tropical plants on sale later on in the spring, so I can bring in little ones and start a whole new batch of new plants to grow. But I want to show you something up close. This is what happens when you have chicks in a box and you're raising them indoors for a while. Look at this leaf. See? Dust. This is called chick dust, and it's from them kicking up their food and the dust coming up from their food. Also dander from the birds. It gets on everything. You could wipe off your plants, your leaves, your counters. Everything will be coated in this. You can wipe it off one day and the next day it'll just be coated again. So I am very anxious to get these little boogers out of my house. And speaking of boogers, let me show you the boogers. I just put them back into their freshly washed box. I took this outside and I scrubbed it out to make sure there were no mites inside of it, and I put in a fresh liner of paper for them to poop on. So it's 100% clean. There's no food, no water in there yet, because the food has to cook and then cool down. So they're not going to get any food for a couple hours. They'll be just fine. I'll put their water in just a minute. Notice something? Yeah, I'm sure you do. There's a lot more birds than there were before. Yeah. But you can see the larger ones, these big yellow ones, these are the ones I hatched. And a couple of the black ones. Oh, and there's another one right here on the left. And little tiny Tim, he gets stepped on a little bit, but he gets around too. He hops around on that 1 foot. But you notice there's other birds. There's a couple of the light-colored ones that are kind of brownish, light-colored. Those are Rhode Island Reds. And the other ones are all Americanas. Yes, I got extra birds. I bought a dozen chicks to go with my 6. So I have a huge little flock of birds in here, my little fuzz buckets. Yep. I couldn't help myself, and I have a good explanation for this. Okay, you guys calm down. I'll get you some water in just a minute. Okay, now for the explanation. Let's see what I can make up. No, it is a good explanation, actually. I went to the farm store where we get all of our stuff for the goats and chickens and stuff, and I get the feed. Well, we went there to get some cracked corn, some feed for the birds out back, and they have chicks there. You know, a lot of farm and garden stores, they have those chicks there, and you have to walk by them to go into the store because they have them towards the front because they want to sell those things to you. They get them in the spring, and that way you don't have to order them online. Well, that's all well and good. They charge around, I'd say, $2.99 to $3.89. I think $3.89 was for the Americanas. They charged around $3.89 for most of their birds, okay? The only ones they charge $2.99 for are the broiler birds, the ones that you raise for meat. Well, I always look at the birds and then I keep walking on. Well, this time I walked in and I noticed red signs around the fence things for the birds, and they have tons of these things, a whole aisle of them. They have hundreds of birds. And I walked up to the sign and it said 50 cents. Yeah, it said 50 cents. And I thought, something's wrong. What's 50 cents in here? There's nothing in here except a whole bunch of chicks. And they had a whole bunch of different kinds in different containers. So I asked the lady at the checkout stand, I said, what's 50 cents? She said, the chicks. I said, but there's another sign that says $3.89. And she explained that they're trying to get rid of all these chicks because they have a new batch coming in today. And I thought, why would you need to get rid of these if you got a new batch coming in? Chicks are chicks, right? And I didn't want to go into it with her. I wasn't going to argue with her. And I said, Mike, they're 50 cents. He goes, that's what Mike does. He goes, and so we were pointing at all these. I go, I'll take a dozen. And she said, you want the chicks? And she wanted to sell me all the chicks, 100 or more chicks. I said, no, just a dozen of them. I can't take 100 chicks. She's going to have me buy all her chicks so they could get the new ones in. I said, I just can't do that. I don't have room for these things. At 50 cents a pop, though, I was really tempted. And don't ever give me animals on sale or plants on sale because I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So that's why I have more chicks. And I figured, what the heck? These are the ones that are going to lay the blue eggs and the green eggs and stuff like that. So I have 12 new chicks. I couldn't help myself. I only paid $6 for those. And normally it would have cost a fortune, you know, $3.89. Figure that times 12. That would have cost me a fortune. Thing is, I have to feed them a lot more. And they're going to be going out. Yeah, I hear you. They're going to be going out into the coop in a couple weeks. Yeah, they're still going to be small, but I have some fencing out there that keeps them in to this fenced area, and they'll be perfectly safe. I'm going to possum-proof the coop, and I've made sure there are no more rats in there, so nothing's going to attack my little wonder children. What is wrong with you? They're ticked off. Yeah, they don't have their food and water. Anyway, I just wanted to explain this to you because it's extra loud in here, and I know some folks are wondering, Ray, how are your 6 or 7 chicks making so much noise? Well, that's how. Hey, how about a drink? You guys want a drink? Yeah, pretty good. Hanging around the water fountain. Even little tiny Tim hobbles on up to the water fountain and gets a drink whenever she or he needs it. Doesn't slow her down at all. Yeah, they're beautiful. And the odd part is that when you buy chicks or hatch them yourself, you can almost be assured that half of them are going to be roosters. Those are the odds. A third to a half of them are going to be roosters. It's like rolling the dice. So I'm sure a lot of these are going to be roosters, and I don't know how I'm going to handle this. I might have to put out a Craigslist ad and find somebody who needs roosters. I don't know. But you can't have too many roosters in a flock, otherwise they're going to be fighting like crazy. But for right now, they're not. They're getting along and everybody's happy. I'll worry about tomorrow when tomorrow gets here. Having fun, aren't you? Yeah. You're already pooping. What is it with you guys? It's like you're nothing but legs and poop. Yeah, well, I really can't complain because that's the stuff that's going to make my garden grow. Well, that's a short episode of the chicks, the little voodoo chicks, and a short explanation. Oh, tune in next time in the Voodoo Garden because I have something to show you, and it's happening right over your shoulder over there, and I have to do some soil stuff. You're going to enjoy it. It's actually a how-to, a tip, a demo, all that fun stuff you expect from the Voodoo Garden. And we're still going to have them screaming in the background. Thanks for joining me on the Voodoo Garden. We appreciate it. Until next week, we're out of here. Not literally. No. Stay in the box. Nobody leaves until I leave.